Hello and welcome back to Hyperplay. Another day, another high-grade pack of smack from China. No, we get our dopamine hit a little bit differently around here, and we know you do too. We're all addicted to these emulation consoles. But this amused us, the return address. But we won't be churlish. No shipping costs, no import taxes, no tariffs, no nothing. $39.99 delivered. This is going to be the Powkiddy V90S with the kind of packaging that would earn you an instant 5-star rating, 100% satisfaction guaranteed from eBay. But this is not eBay, this is the Powkiddy website, and here is the box of the V90S. Very exciting, tastefully done, rather minimalist. You can see the different colour options there. We've got the yellow, as you can see. So let's crack it open. Crack open the V90. Yeah, they are addictive, these emulation consoles. We do enjoy them. Instruction manual does what it says on the tin. Actually very useful with regard to the hotkey functions there. The most useful one will be holding down start and tapping X, because that will get you into your RetroArch menu, and we will show you the glory you can access therein a little bit later. And here she is, the V90S. I'm going to give you the review pretty quickly now, because I want to get down to the tips and tricks. Good hinge, decent materials. Yes, feels a bit like a toy, but let's face it, these are toys. But they can provide you with all the nostalgia you could possibly need. The emulation on this one goes all the way up to PSP, and very nicely on the PSP indeed. Here's the size comparison next to our beloved RG40XXH, but more pertinently is the RG40XXH in a bag compared to the closed Powkiddy V90S clamshell. Half the size, and that is the beauty of the clamshell form factor. 50% reduction in carriage. Uber portable, uber fantastic. And whilst the shoulder buttons might be a little bit clacky, the face buttons are superbly soft and tactile, as we've already seen from other reviews. So not going to labour the point here. Let's flip the thing open, fire it up, and I'll show you the best way to enjoy your Powkiddy V90S. Running Batasera and sporting the A133 Plus all-winner chip. This is the same chipset seen on the TrimUI Smart Pro and can play up to PSP. 11 PSP games included on the 64GB card version, but we want to know whether it can run 16-bit games flawlessly, so let's try out the Final Fantasy sound test. Oh, bit of stuttering. Yes, the music at the start of Final Fantasy 3 wasn't flawless, but it soon settled down, was absolutely superb after that. Here we go. Okay. Very good in the end. Yes, all told, we're very pleased with the performance of the Powkiddy V90S. One thing which did cause some slight concern, but is not unusual in these handhelds, is the quality of the screen. Now, it's fine, it's nice and sharp actually, comparable to the Battle XP G350 in terms of sharpness and brightness, but the saturation levels weren't great. Like they weren't great on the Anbernics before we sorted them out. The Anbernic on the right there is the RG40XXH after we had maximised the screen settings with our secret hack. And the results speak volumes. So now we've got the RG40XXH on the bottom, the Powkiddy V90S on the top, and you can see the Anbernic is a much more saturated screen thanks to the secret hack we performed on it. Can we work the same magic with the Powkiddy V90S? Let's have a look. So to adjust the parameters of the display and make it truly pop with colour and vibrancy, you need to go load up the game first of all, and then go into the quick menu in RetroArch, which in this case is hold down start and press X. Once you're in the quick menu, scroll down to shaders. And in shaders, go all the way down, and there's already a shader actually applied, but it doesn't do much. Sharp Bilinear Simple. Click on that, and then go all the way down to MISC, M-I-S-C for miscellaneous. And you may think that this is the same if you've watched the Anbernic XX video we did. Then go into shaders and go down to image adjustment, and it is largely the same, but there's a key difference which will make it work, otherwise it won't work. Having selected image adjustment as your shader of choice, you then need to go to apply changes, and then after that go down to shader parameters, and here is where you can change the settings of the display. Our tip for a top screen is to change monitor gamma to 1.9, saturation to about 1.3 or 1.4, and then also bump up the contrast to just a little bit, maybe to 1.05. And you can also go down to luminance just to brighten up the display, maybe to 1.1, and sharpen, we like to crank all the way up to 1. Then you must go back and apply the changes again. For the XX devices, that was all you needed to do. RetroArch would remember your settings, but for the V90S, you need to go up 2 spots and go to Save Preset. Then, funnily enough, you'll be in the Save Preset menu, and you go down to Save Shader Preset As. Now, for our purposes, we're going to call it SAT for saturation, SAT3, and that's because we'd already done a couple of trial runs with SAT1 and SAT2, so this bunch of settings with the nice saturation is going to be called SAT3. So type in SAT3 and navigate across to Enter, and you will see that it's been saved successfully. Quick menu, you can get on with your game, and there it is, looking really beautiful, on a par with the RG40 XXH earlier. And you've got the nice blues and on the roof, and you've got the lovely purples as well on Terra's top and on the tiles on the floor. So, just to prove that it works, we come back out of the game. We don't have to do any other saving configurations or overrides or anything else. We tried all that before and none of that worked. The key thing was to have saved the preset. So we go back into the game, and when we load up our save, we'll be met with the previously washed out screen. Unfortunately, we can't boot straight back into the lovely saturated screen that we had before in the same way we can with the XX devices. I mean, it looks fine, but again, the blues are a little bit washed out, and so are the purples and so on. So you go into the quick menu, navigate again to shaders, load preset, and then instead of scrolling all the way down, you can just tap up, and there was SAT3, and you click on SAT3, press A, you go load preset, and there we go. You have your lovely saturated image again with those better blues and deeper purples. Smoke on the water indeed. Now, just quickly before we go, we did promise you some PSP action earlier, and it's with regard to a similar tip that we've got for you. Loading up Crisis Core, of course, it's the major RPG that's there. It runs absolutely beautifully, and yes, you do get the black letterbox bars. Still looks great on a nice sharp screen, and we have some tips to make the PSP display even more divine as well. Start and X gets you into the PSP menu, and you can navigate down to Display Layout and Effects. This gets you to the post-processing shaders list, and you're looking for color correction, and these are the settings that we have on another device, but you can see you can change the brightness, the saturation, the contrast, and the gamma in a very similar way to the image adjustment we did in RetroArch for the SNES game. So yeah, you can do exactly the same in PSP and make the screen pop even more. Beyond that, you may have noticed that we stretched the image. We committed the cardinal sin of true retro gamers and distorted the aspect ratio to fill up the screen. But gotta say, I think it looks pretty good. And the older we get, our eyesight gets worse, and we don't care about a few stretched pixels here and there if it makes it easier to see the full glory of a beautiful screen like the Powkiddy V90S's. All well and good calibrating your contrast, but it doesn't help if you can't play the dang games absolutely perfectly. Fortunately, in this case, you can. The A133 Plus chip inside the V90S is actually better than the H700 at emulating PSP games, and not a single dip or stutter with Crisis Core in combat, despite the multiple enemies buzzing around and me trying to figure out on the menu what I was doing with regard to my spells. The Powkiddy V90S will take most PSP emulation in its stride. Can I just remind you again that we're talking about a $40 delivered handheld? $40 gets you the 64GB SD card, which has actually very few PlayStation games on it, just these, but has a ton of GBA and SNES games, including all the Mario titles. It does have those 11 PSP as well. Perhaps the biggest drawback of the Powkiddy V90S, indeed the only one we can think of, is the lack of a headphone jack. The sound from the speakers is top notch, as you heard earlier, but with no Bluetooth to fall back on, that is all you are left with. But if that doesn't break the deal, then the V90S is undoubtedly a must-buy. So if you're in the market for an ultra-budget, ultra-convenient handheld, and you don't mind having to turn the volume down your games occasionally, then we highly recommend making tracks for the Powkiddy V90S. It's a very fair option. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, please do tap that like button and be sure to subscribe. And all that remains to be said is happy handheld gaming, hinged or unhinged. Thanks for watching. Take care. Goodbye.